Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we cut through the noise and bring you stories that actually matter. But today, buckle up because this one is going to hit you right in the feels. Imagine this. You've traveled hundreds of miles, built a life in a new country, scraping by day after day. And then suddenly, in the dead of night, everything explodes. Tensions boil over, your home is gone, and you're left standing with nothing but the clothes on your back. Now picture this. Over 100 people packing up, heading home, and looking straight into the camera saying, "We won't come back." Wait, what? That's exactly what's happening right now in Kleinmond, South Africa. And trust me, by the end of this, you're going to be thinking about borders, safety, and second chances in a whole new way. Let's dive into this wild, heartbreaking adventure, step by step. Picture a small coastal town in the Overstrand area, Kleinmond. Normally, it's the kind of place where people go for peaceful beaches and fresh sea air. But last weekend, something shifted. Tensions had been rising for weeks. Locals were fed up with undocumented foreigners living in informal settlements. Words turned into shouts. Shouts turned into fear. And then, boom, the situation hit a breaking point. Around 140 people, mostly hard-working folks from Malawi and Mozambique, were suddenly forced out of their settlement. No gentle warning, no slow goodbye. One moment they had a roof, however shaky. The next, they were on the move, hearts pounding, wondering what would happen next. It felt like a scene from an action movie, except this was real life and nobody was handing out scripts. Where do you go when your world flips upside down like that? For these families and workers, the answer came in the form of a community hall right there in Kleinmond. For a full week, that hall became their temporary fortress. Imagine it. Cots lined up, people sharing stories late into the night, kids trying to play while the adults whispered about what might come tomorrow. Relief workers and locals stepped in, but the air was thick with uncertainty. Some people were scared for their lives, others just felt completely lost. Then came the game changer. Immigration officials rolled up with an offer: voluntary repatriation. If you don't feel safe here anymore, we'll help you get home. No force, your choice. And a big chunk of the group said yes. They chose to leave South Africa behind. Now, here's where the story gets really human. Not everyone was jumping for joy. Take Desmond Frank, a Malawian man caught right in the middle of the storm. When reporters asked him how he felt, he didn't sugarcoat it. "We are feeling good about going home," he said. "But we don't know what kind of life we are going back to. There are uncertainties. And when there are uncertainties, there are always negative effects." Whoa, let's sit with that for a second. These folks spent a week in a community hall, hearts racing every time they heard a noise outside. Now they're climbing onto buses, heading back across the border, trading one set of problems for another. Relief on one hand, fear on the other. It's the kind of impossible choice that makes you realize life isn't black and white. It's messy, complicated, and sometimes brutally unfair. Let me paint the picture even clearer. Think about what these people left behind. Many had been working tough jobs, construction, farming, small trades, sending money home to support families they hadn't seen in months or even years. They built little lives in South Africa despite the challenges. Now those lives are on pause, maybe forever. Some of them are straight up saying they're done. No more South Africa. The risks are just too high. And it's not just Kleinmond. Officials are already planning the next wave. About 300 more foreign nationals from nearby towns like Gansbaai and Stanford are said to be repatriated in the coming days. 300! That's a small town's worth of people picking up and leaving. The numbers are climbing, and the story is still unfolding. But let's zoom out for a moment and talk about why this even happened. South Africa has been wrestling with big questions around immigration, jobs, and resources. In areas like Overstrand, some locals feel overwhelmed. They see newcomers competing for the same limited opportunities. Frustrations build, rumors spread, and before you know it, peaceful communities find themselves on edge. It's a tale as old as time. When resources get tight, people get scared, and fear can turn neighbors into strangers. On the flip side, these foreign nationals weren't villains in some story. They were people chasing better lives. Many followed the rules as best they could. Some had proper papers, others didn't. But when the mood turned sour, the labels didn't matter much. Fear doesn't check documents.
Here's a line that might make you pause and think. In a world where millions of us dream of moving somewhere new for a shot at something better, what happens when that dream turns into a nightmare you have to run from? No way, right? It's the kind of reality check that sticks with you. Now, back to the action. The buses are loading up. Suitcases are being tied down. Goodbyes are being said. Some tearful, some just tired. The journey home won't be easy. For many from Malawi and Mozambique, going back means facing uncertain economies, families that might have changed, and communities wondering where they've been all this time. But at least they feel safer than they did in that informal settlement last weekend. Community leaders in Kleinmond have been working overtime to keep the peace. They opened that hall, fed people, listened to their fears. It shows that even in tense moments, humanity can still shine through. Not everyone was pointing fingers. Some locals were helping, offering support, reminding everyone that we're all just trying to survive.
But let's be real, this story isn't over. As these groups head home, questions are swirling. Will more areas see similar tensions? Are there bigger conversations that South Africa needs to have about immigration, integration, and fairness? And what about the people left behind? The ones who chose to stay despite the risks? Their stories matter too. This whole situation feels like a pressure cooker that finally blew its lid. One weekend of rising tempers turned into a full-blown repatriation effort. Over 100 people today, 300 more soon, and who knows what next week brings. Hey, if you're watching this and you've ever felt stuck between two worlds, whether it's moving to a new city, changing jobs, or facing uncertainty in your own life, drop a comment below. Tell me your story. Because these moments remind us that behind every headline is a real person with real dreams. Before we wrap this up, let's remember the big picture. South Africa is a country of incredible beauty, resilient people, and complex challenges. Stories like this one don't define the whole nation, but they do shine a light on problems we can't ignore. Safety for everyone, locals and newcomers alike, has to be the goal. Finding ways to live together instead of pushing each other out.
And to our friends from Malawi and Mozambique heading home today, safe travels. May the uncertainties turn into opportunities. May the negative effects be smaller than you fear. You carried hopes across borders once. Who knows? Maybe one day those hopes will find a new path. Alright friends, that's the latest on this developing situation in Kleinmond and the Overstrand area. The buses are rolling, the decisions have been made, but the bigger questions, they are just getting started. If you want more stories that actually matter, the dramatic ones, the human ones, the ones that make you say, wait, what? Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Tomorrow could bring the next chapter in this saga, or maybe a completely different twist we never saw coming. What do you think should happen next? Should countries work harder to protect foreign workers? Or do local communities have the right to set limits? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. Thanks for watching.
stay curious, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next video. This is your host signing off, but the story